Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome in on Tuesday night here. I'm off the screen because I'm suffering from a pretty bad cold slash chest thing. So instead of subjecting you to this disgusting looking guy, I felt I'd put a keyboard and a nice guitar as a background. But this is a great, great subject. First off, let's get some business out of the way. Danae and Maria, thank you so much for upping the stakes with the membership. I think it's amazing. And that shows me so much love. And I love you guys for it. It's for all the other people out there. If you want to become a member, I'm going to start having some member only shows, which will depict me in a bit of a different light from my days in Brooklyn and Bensonhurst in my teens and 20s. So you will get access to those videos shows where no one else will. So I have to do something for you guys. So thank you once again, Danae and Maria, and to my other um, members. I'm a little worried about Joe Cotrain. Joe is a friend of mine, and I texted him. I haven't seen him around in a while. I'm really concerned. So if anybody has seen Joe Cotrain, please let me know if you've seen him in another show. I just want to know he's okay. It's not even a question of him being in here. I just want to make sure he's okay. Anyway, a musician's take. That's me, the musician. The one song that sticks with you, or many that stick with you. Why do they? Some songs get stuck in your head. I mean, like it creates an earworm pretty much because of a mix of musical structure. I think as a songwriter, I know there are different ways to structure a song and your brain response, how an individual's brain responds to that song. Catchy songs have simple, and the key is repetitive melodies, unexpected intervals where something will be thrown at you that you didn't expect, um, a rhythmic pattern that makes it easier for your brain to loop. You loop it and you know what's coming next, like poems. Um, and the lyric and the rhyme that repeats along with the strong emotional or personal connection might increase your chance of having that song linger in your memory, because you have to remember songwriting lyrics shifted a lot between the 60s, which I focus on a lot, and the 2000s. In the 60s, popular lyrics often focused on love, right? Social change. Um, Dylan, if you want to talk about that, storytelling, clearer narrative, and a simpler language, really. I think folk and rock emphasized protest and poetic imagery. I think of Dylan, right? The greatest poet in music back then. Um, by the 2000s, lyrics grew much more personal, introspective, and they were fragmented. It reflected an individual's emotion opposed to a societal take on things, lifestyle, pop cultures, the genre like hip hop and R&B. Uh, that brought many times a lot of rock and roll lyrics that focused on youthful rebellion, right? Freedom, love, high energy themes, and it was tied to a rhythmic attitude, but it was different. Popular music kind of it was a little lyrically broader. It covered love and heartbreak and lifestyle and trends, aiming for a mass appeal. Remember the old joke country song? You lost your wife, you lost your trailer, you lost your dog. Out of real life comes jokes. Now crooners in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even in the 60s, like Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, they focused on a smooth, intimate vocal delivery with very clear diction. You heard every word, you didn't hear a mispronounced word. They emphasized on melody, but it was more emotional storytelling in their lyrics. You listen to Bennett or Sinatra or Martino, Damone, whomever. It explored love and heartbreak and longing in a romance, right? A romantic, timeless style. By contrast, although they were doing it in the 60s as crooners, most of the 60s popular music kind of leaned on youth driven themes, social change with banging, experimentation, especially the Summer of Love, with lyrics that could be very abstract, colloquial, or politically uh, diversified in one's feelings or thoughts. Now, why do we hear a song differently when we get older? Why is it that a song that I heard at 23 years of age doesn't mean the same to me when I hear it now? Well, hearing sensitivity. And I think this is for someone older that hears a new song, uh, differences in the ear structures of age related hearing loss. It changes how people perceive pitch and tone. Your brain processes that much differently. Musical training or natural variations in how the brain processes rhythm and harmony affect perception. I'm a musician, so I listen to a song a little differently than someone may that has no musical background. Your emotional response, right? Personal experiences, how emotions influence how the brain interprets music. When you're 17 and you're laying in bed and your girlfriend dumped you and you hear a love song, hey, you're gonna hear it a little differently then than you do now. And cultural background is a very, very uh, defining moment when you're listening to a song, hip hop and urban and all that. But the key is, though, which I wanted to talk about after I take a sip so I don't choke all over you here. The songs that stick with you, why do they? Well, songs stick with us for many reasons. There's a phenomenon known as an earworm or involuntary musical imagery, you know, due to a combination pretty much of these emotional responses, which I have really felt in the studio practicing with my band or whatever, repetitive structural patterns, personal memory associations. That's very big. If someone was ill when you first heard that song, hearing it 40 years later may elicit that response. These auditory kind of loops in your brain, they usually feature fast tempos, simple melodic contours. They're not going all over the place on the scale. They're just very repetitive. And a unique hook that activates the brain's memory and emotion center. Uh, Usually, a unique hook will kind of latch on to you because it's unique enough, but yet easy enough to replicate in your brain. And it triggers nostalgia. uh, you associate certain songs with certain events, and also the emotional resonance with memory. Music has a profound connection to the brain's limbic system, how songs act as emotional anchors. Songs that trigger stronger feelings, it could be joy, sadness, nostalgia, thinking back to when you were a kid, whatever, are more likely to be deeply embedded in our memory because the song, in songwriters' terms, becomes sticky. It becomes sticky because it resonates with a person's current emotional state, or it brings you back to a powerful memory from a specific time or place, right? And then the music structure, the physical composition of a song plays a very crucial role. Hey, Mitch, earworms frequently contain repetition, okay? Recurring patterns in melody, rhythm, or lyrics, even if they're that good, help the brain memorize a song easy. Unique hooks, distinctive, catchy part of a song designed to capture attention, and melodies that rise and fall, similar to nursery rhymes. They're effective as well. Um, I think fast tempos help. Uh, Quicker upbeat tempos make songs more likely to get stuck. Think of a YouTube video that you're watching. A video explains how the structure of music can cause it to get stuck in your head. And then you have different methods. There's agonic effect. The brain kind of tends to remember. I took a course in Juilliard and I remembered this. The brain tends to remember incomplete tasks better than completed ones. A song loop may continue because the brain wants to finish it and because there's no, we call it in songwriting, to resolve. because there's no resolution, it contains an opened loop that will never close. That happens. Contextual associations, similar to how sense trigger memories, that old girlfriend who used to wear whatever it was. Hearing a certain phrase or being in a familiar location can activate a hook in the brain. It brings a song into conscious thought. That happens a lot. And then you have personal taste and familiarity. The more frequently a song is heard, the more ingrained it becomes. But why won't they go away? Why not? Well, trying to ignore an earworm when you've heard that song and you keep on going over it each day can make it worse. Uh, Cognition Today did a great article on it. I remember doing a article in Juilliard when I took the drum courses there and theory. Musical loops often occupy the brain's phonological loop of memory, the auditory part, where it pretty much reinforces ironic processes. They attempt to stop thinking about the song, ironically, makes it persist more in your brain. Now, I remember one of the first songs I wrote with my band partner and my partner Fred, songwriting partner, early 80s, sent it out to a guy, Warren Myers, who was an agent my dad had met. And he said we lacked a hook. A lot of the lyrical content was straight on without a great bridge or middle eight. They used to call it middle eight in the day. Um, Usually going from 3/4 or, going the cadence, the meter of the song. And that happens a lot. Many times an earworm can be She Loves You. She Loves You is the middle eight that begins the song. The Beatles song opened up with the chorus. She Loves You was the chorus, and they led the song off with it, which was very, very uh, new in 64. Since then, we've heard of it, and some songs have done it. But generally speaking, we try to connect the dots only to find that we missed one, and then you have to erase, hopefully using pencil, and start all over again. Um, there are a lot of songs. I've written songs that I purposely tried not to put a middle eight in because I was trying to explain something and I did not want it replicated in an earworm by you losing message and humming the middle eight. I wanted you to concentrate on the words. I'm looking for a song that I did that with, and I'll play it for you. Um, like here's a perfect example. I'm going to put it on. This is my band and I practicing "Lovely Rita," 1985, before we were doing Daytona Beach. And I'm just going through it, trying not to sing. I didn't want to ruin my voice. Trying to get it down. It's a tough cadence. Also coked out of my mind, probably. And then this is one with no hook. This is a song I wrote a couple of years ago. Every once in a while, I miss your smile, and the sadness goes away. I've seen priest rings and all, in all there's nothing left to say. And when I hope that I can wait to a better day. And then I do something like this practicing. And this had a chorus inside the middle eight, so to speak. You pick out your words like pennies from heaven, and sometimes you gotta hate. I don't know if I'm ever gonna sell out here from the place I sit. Stars are made and stars are broken, but I know these words are true. That they put their pants on one leg and another. It sounds very like short break right here. You, 'cause I totally do. Oh, me and you. Simple verse like chorus. Sometimes you do that for a plethora of reasons, but for the most part, when I would try to write, I didn't worry about a bridge because you have to sell out once in a while. You have to think about what you want to do. Do you want to convey a message? Is this a lyrically contented song where you don't really care if they dance to it? You want them to sit misty eyed and wonder where their life has gone. Like right now, we're sitting here, and I'll show you. Well, I can't take this thing off the camera, but uh, I can. What the hell? There we go. How are you, everybody? I'm not feeling great. If I want to write a song right now about this show, right? Um, Staring at the screen like any other day, feeling a little ill. Maybe I'll just try to get through our verses before I take another pill. All you do is think. And I remember I don't like structure. I never did. I'm bipolar, but I never did. I feel that it stops you. Um, it stops you from the great wonder. I remember telling someone I was at the keyboard, and I play piano a little. I was at the keyboard, and I was saying the greatest thing about this compared to the acoustic guitar, and I have like, I don't know, 8 guitars or whatever, is that you look at the ivories, every piece of music that was ever written is right in front of you. And if you know how to play it, you could do it. And there's something about the freedom of not having to play an E diminished chord because even though it probably resolves, I'll give you a perfect example. George Harrison wrote in a lot of minor keys. Minor keys usually aren't upbeat, they're not sunny, they're very sour and all that. Uh, so if you're playing minor keys, you're not just going to throw a major in there. It's just it doesn't sound right. That's what a lot of bands are known for. They do it subtly, and it gives it that unintentional hook where you can't get that earworm out because it is so different. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll try. Not supposed to be doing this, but I'm doing this for you. I can keep my hand to my side. So if I'm playing um, a minor, so if I'm like, you hear the difference, right? Or the, there's minors that it just doesn't sound right, and many people use it as a way to get a point across. Like maybe you don't know if you should be sad or glad. So you go back and forth like your mind does. Generally speaking, we have days that we are up and down, right? So why not put it in a song where you're not even sure which way the song is going to go? And George Harrison wrote in a lot of minor keys. And George Harrison generally didn't have a great middle eight. If you're writing in minor keys, you can't have the song happy as a middle eight. It's not going to work. You can't overindulge to the point where you're just not flowing the way you should be flowing. So I always look at that. So why does that one song stick in your mind? Well, we went over some of it. Emotional connection to me is a great deal of the puzzle. I told a story around 1985. The song Sarah came out by Jefferson Starship. I was pulling into my driveway. I was 24. My parents were alive. My sisters were alive. Didn't like or dislike the song. I just wouldn't put it on. I don't know if I would have turned it off if it just came on the radio, but I certainly wasn't. Oh yeah, there it is. Never really cared much about it. Indifferent. A few years back, now my parents and sisters are gone. Many years now. Driving by my old house because my late brother-in-law, who passed a month or two ago, he still lived there, and I was going to call on him just to surprise him. And on the way to that house where I live next door, Sarah comes on. It brought me back to the first time I heard it. Now, when I hear it, it means a lot to me. It doesn't mean a lot because I was going to visit my late brother-in-law. That day was not the reason. That was the igniter. That wasn't the cause of the fire. That was an adjutant. It brought me back to 1985. So why didn't I like the song in 1985? It's the exact same song, but why is it different now? Because a lot of things have happened since I first heard that song. And that song brought me to a place where I had youth, I had less death, and the open road and the possibilities were endless, it seemed. So that day was instrumental, pardon the pun, of going to see my brother in law, of me liking that song now But really, if I had never heard the song in the first place in 1985, probably wouldn't have cared again. So you can see where sometimes things happen. They happen for a good reason, a bad reason, indifferent reason, but it happens. It sticks with you. Now, it's not an earworm, Sarah, but it brings back a nice memory. And it brings back a memory that can't be replicated. You can go to all your 10-year reunions, 20, 30-year reunions you want in high school or college. You're not going to replicate how you felt in college. You're just not going to. You're older. Many times you'll go to the reunion and actually get bummed out by it because you want to so fiercely believe that you haven't changed until you see a bunch of people you don't even recognize. And then it's like, I wonder if they can't recognize me. And that happens a lot because we never truly are who we think we are. When we're listening to a song, it's never quite the same the first time or as the third time. The first time is the first impression. Sarah, the first impression was indifferent. Then more that I learned about music, Sarah was like going to your first restaurant to have chicken parmesan, and you thought it was good until you had it at another restaurant, and then you realized, whoa. Well, that's what happens. You get to know the product more, and then you base your decision on that. I have a friend that always said, if there weren't unfortunate, misfortunate people in the world, how would people that are fortunate know they're fortunate? Think about it. If you never ate in a bad restaurant, how do you know which one's good? If you never dated a girl that just you didn't have that feeling for when you find that one and only, how did you know the difference? You had to have a reference point. I think when a song sticks with you, I think it's at this age. I'm not talking about when you're 17. I think it's muscle memory now. I think it brings you back to a period. You may not even realize it, but it brings you back to a period that life was a little more simple. I do believe that. I might be wrong. It's just for me. That's the way I feel. And I think that the more we try to analyze music, the more it is complicating things. That's the problem I have as a musician. I'll hear All You Need Is Love. George Harrison starts playing a solo and then it cuts off right away because they were using a backing track for All You Need Is Love. And he started playing the solo and thought better of it. And he just stopped. Um, I think that it's like you love hot dogs, ballpark hot dogs. You love them as a kid, right? Go to the factory and see how they're made and see if you feel the same about them. Well, it's the same thing as listening to a song as a musician. You tend to find all the wrong with it before the pleasing moments. Where when you're listening to it as a novice, you're just listening to the parts playing as a whole, not taking it apart, like remastering a CD. Uh, remastering and uh, I forget what the word is, but you could remaster a CD and then you could totally engineer it differently. That's like taking the cake that's already made, taking all the parts out of the cake, liquidating it, the sugar, this, that, and starting again, raising the backing track, the drums and the percussion, moving it aside. We tend to do that as musicians. Um, we tend to reinvent the wheel. And what happens when you're worrying about all that? You miss the song. Hey, just chilling. Right. Hey, just chilling. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for coming in, and absolutely, you're so correct. You have to prepare yourself sometimes for the flashback of pain, but yet we welcome it, because what happens? You know you're going to feel pain, but you also know that you're bringing your father to the forefront for a few minutes, right? Just while that song is on, dad's alive. Part of your brain knows he's not. So you have a struggle. You know it's not real, yet you probably want it to be for whatever reason. And I don't know if he's left us just chilling. I'm just saying, if dad's not around anymore, I agree with you. Music is so powerful because where else can you go? If I put you Tower of Babel, you know what the Tower of Babel was? Tower of Babel, each person on each floor spoke a different language. Each floor spoke a different language. So they would just do their work and not compromise the project by slagging off, right? Well, if I put you in a club and there were 500 people in this club and none of you spoke the same language, so you couldn't communicate, but a great dance song was on, you'd be dancing, you'd look at someone next to you and smile, and you have no idea what they're saying. You may not even know what the lyrics are because that's another language, but it's eliciting a response from you that very rarely can you replicate. I know, just chilling. I know. I hear the song September, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I knew a girl about 2 weeks. It had come out in 78. And for Christmas, she gave me the album. Hey, G, the album. And Jovan Musk for Men. Remember that? I don't know if you're as old as me. Jovan Musk. And to this day, I think of being pretzel-legged on the living room floor, exchanging gifts. With everything that's gone on and almost 50 years of road behind me, I still remember that. So your memory with your dad is much like mine with my parents, with Sarah, going to a house where everyone was alive. People were alive, everyone was alive. And sometimes it works. Look, you know how important music is? Sailing is great, great song. Uh, Listen to the song Home and Dry by Jerry Rafferty. Very good song. Uh, I think about music a lot, obviously. I play, I write, I go in the studio, I record. And I was in a band that, we played to 9,000 people, Daytona, on the stage outside the beach. We did well. And There were nights where I just did not wanna do a song, and it wasn't so much being sick of it. We used to we'd come on at 10, do an hour and a half, 40 minutes off, and then play till 2. Set consisted of maybe 35 songs. We had the same people that would follow us. We had a mailing list. So what we would do is I'd change up 5 or 6 songs from a Friday to Saturday night because I knew the same people were watching. Supertramp is great. Breakfast in America, 79, great album. Robert Plant, I love the song by the Honey Drippers, Rockin' at Midnight. And Liberace. Liberace was great on the piano. He sucked on the organ. How to say it. But I think that there were nights that I just did not want to do a song, and it had nothing to do with my voice strength, coming off back to back. Remember, there was smoking in the bars back then. I was shot, and just couldn't get into the song. And then 3 days later, loved the song. Couldn't wait to get up there and do it. It's your mood. It's your mood. You just, for whatever reason, the music gods are saying, not tonight. And then there were songs, I'm trying to remember our set list in the 80s. What I Like About You, Jenny, Do Why Diddy Diddy, I Feel Fine, Ruby Tuesday, Things Can Only Get Better, Stepping Out, Joe Jackson, Allison, Elvis Costello. We did so much. And there were nights where if I could see myself, God, you must hate that song. No, I hated it for that night. And things change, especially with music. Do you ever just feel like, I'll tell you, honestly, I don't make any money on this channel. You know why I do my music shorts? I'll tell you why. Because of Sarah. Did you ever hear a song and you played it out for a week straight? And then you forgot all about it for a year, and then it happens to come on. Oh my God, I remember that. I love that song. And you start playing it for another week. That's why I do my music shorts. I do them so maybe you'll hear a song that you haven't listened to in 2 years or 10 years, and I get a lot of response. Oh my God, that brings me back. I haven't heard of that. I haven't thought of that song in ages. Thank you. That's why I do it. To maybe get a response out of you that you wouldn't have got if you didn't listen to my 50-second short. Only reason I do it. And I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing music with people. I'll give you a tissue song for me, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Boy. And I'm not embarrassed to say I was teaching about 3 or 4 months ago, and someone sang it. And it was the anniversary of my sister Nancy's death. So I was thinking about her anyway. No, I was thinking of the one who did the other version, like not a calypso, kind of a calypso. And I have to tell you, I had the readers on because I'm at the computer teaching. Yeah, G, and I just lost it. Thank goodness I didn't make a fool out of myself that day. Excuse me. But it was rough. It was rough. That Hawaii, yes. Yes, just chilling. We've regressed. We've knocked him down to that Hawaiian guy, but yeah. We've minimalized him, but he has done a great job with that song. That's a tough song anytime. But the night that I was lamenting about my sister, and then I had to go teach the next day. Thank God I'm off this week. Uh, thank God I'm off this week because I couldn't have taught. I didn't feel good. And now I'm teaching Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm teaching the great American composers of the 20th century. So I was going to do Burt Bacharach, and we changed it actually. I did a couple of Broadway plays the last few weeks. So I go in on Tuesday to prepare the Thursday class, and I have a couple of people come in to. I ended up taking a day on that I didn't have to take on. I really don't get paid for it, but I've been offered to go teach in Nassau County. I taught as an adjunct in college, and they offered. Well, they didn't offer it to me yet. I'd have to do some things, but I can go teach in the school system if I want. I was thinking about it, but I don't know if I want to deal with young kids anymore at this age. But we're going to do from Burt Bacharach to Hoagie Carmichael for the composer class. He's definitely an American composer of the 40s, and he was great, Hoagie. I know George Harrison liked him. When he has Stardust, Georgia, those songs. So that should really be good. Skylark. So what I do is I give them, I have about 18 adults in the class, and I come up with a syllabus of a Broadway play, and each student will get a song, and I'll go up and I'll orate what it's about, how it came about, who produced this show, the time period when it was on Broadway, all of that. I'll give you an example, because I printed this up. I have it somewhere here. Like Cole, I printed this up for them. I'll get the Cole Porter, right? Wasn't an American. He was Johnny. He was, pretty much a contemporary of Gershwin. Johnny Mercer, accentuate the positive and all that. The Harold Arlen songbook, Here Come the Waves, Jamaica, St. Louis Woman, Rhythmia Blues in the Night film. Harold Arlen, again with the show tunes. Julie Stein from Gypsy and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and all that. I'm looking to forward the Cole Porter, so I printed all this up for them. It's a lot of work, a lot of lay work when I do this class, but I enjoy it. And if it was, if I was teaching, microeconomics like I did in NYU as an adjunct professor, I wouldn't be so excited about it. But this is something I enjoy. I like giving them the music. Material World's a good album, just chilling. It is. It's one of his underrated Living in the Material World. George had a way about him. George Harrison, you look at that album. First of all, I think the best song that he ever did, Give Me Love, that came out in 73, a couple of years after All Things Was Past. Give Me Love was, I think, the best song he ever did. Sue Me, Sue You Blues is about Apple and the Beatles going through lawsuits and all that. And Don't Let Me Wait Too Long. A lot of spiritual stuff. George became a little preachy, which, a lot of people didn't like. But Living in the Material World was a good song. Try Some, Buy Some was good. Bought that. It's a good album, solid album. He had some really ornery albums. Yeah, he wrote in a lot of minor keys. He became very mystic, and people weren't looking for that in the '70s. The only reason he got away with it was because in the early '70s, you have to remember you had the elevator music. You had the partnership, Seals and Crofts, Signal Dan and John Ford. You had Simon and Garfunkel. You had Loggins and Messina. So, and partnerships never work out. From the Smothers Brothers to the Everly Brothers, they always break up partnerships. But he was stuck right there. So his music was soft enough that it kind of got edged in with that elevator music. A little preachy, but people forgave it because he was a Beatle. If he weren't a Beatle, no one would have bought those songs. They would have bought "Give Me Love." That's just a solid song. But "Give Me Love" to me is much better than "My Sweet Lord." That's a great song. His last album, this posthumous album that Jeff Lynne worked on with his son Danny, "Brainwashed," was a pretty good album. "Brainwashed" was good. That song was interesting. Uh, George took off from like he did 33 and a third in '76, which I thought was an okay album. It's Up to What You Value is a good song. This song, it's about his lawsuit for "My Sweet Lord." And then he came back big with All Those Years Ago after Lennon got killed. And then he had a dry spell in the '80s, and then he came out with Cloud Nine around '88 and Got My Mind Set on You, which wasn't his song, but he covered it, and that put him back on the map. And then, of course, the Traveling Wilburys after that. So George was finding his way after being a Beatle. He had the hardest time. And you look at George's writing, you see, there are people that are very self-confessional. I'll give you an example. John Lennon's self-confessional writer, Paul McCartney not. McCartney's writing about Lady Madonna, Eleanor Rigby, She's Leaving Home, never about him. John's writing about himself. Billy Joel, characters, Brenda and Eddie. Billy wasn't very forthcoming. Billy was so stuck on trying to be someone else that he lost who he was. Uptown Girl, he's trying to be Frankie Valli. Ray Charles, he's trying to be. The song Running on Ice. If you closed your eyes, I would say, oh, that's the Police. He was emulating Sting. Uh, Billy never was comfortable in his own voice, so Billy tried to be someone else all the time. Um, and then you have singers that are very self-confessional. You have to be willing to put it out there. See, if you're talking about Brenda and Eddie and the song doesn't go big, they just didn't like Brenda and Eddie. If you're talking about yourself and it doesn't go big, oh my God, they hate me. You get where I'm going with this? So you have to be brave to open yourself up to the art being you. And it could be quite an endorsement or it could be a dismergement, depending if they like the song or not. Paul McCartney was always bidding against himself being the Beatles. Very hard act to follow. George kind of just gave up on following it because he knew he couldn't. George wasn't really a pop writer. Um, and Ringo, with help from George, came out with Photograph and It Don't Come Easy. But why does certain songs really grab you and some don't let go? I'll give you someone send me 99 cents because I'm going to lose my advertising now. I'll put on what I feel are good hooks. 10 bars, 8 bars. It could be a 5-minute song. Here's an example for you. I'll just show you what it's about. Okay, you have an opening intro, Countdown, 1978, Dan Hartman. Hartman actually played for the Beach Boys as well. Okay, here's the right, nondescript, whatever it is, 10 in the bar. Okay, so he adds a little piano roll and all that. Lyrically, what about Countdown to Your Love, right? Sets up for the break. He goes from four in the bar, and then he's just setting you up for the break. Right? There's your little 8, and then he goes back into the verse. And here's your hook. Repetition. And then they throw some sax in there. That's your hook. Everyone on the dance floor is waiting for that part. 40-second part. Song is 7 minutes. That's your hook. We have so many songs that they can stand on their own without a hook. The hook gets you on the radio. That's the difference. Use the mute button there. Hooks get you on the radio. Hooks win you the Grammy. Yesterday, has a middle. When she's gone, I don't know. She wouldn't say that's a middle. But it's not coming out of its shoes, so to speak. It's just sidebarring. Where some hooks just totally, you think you're listening to another song, like A Day in a Life, which is really 2 songs put together. Lennon couldn't finish up one song, and McCartney came in with work he was working on that he couldn't finish up. I Got a Feeling also were 2 songs put into one. Everybody Had a Hard Year was a song Lennon couldn't get anything past those first few lines. But generally speaking, if you have 2 writers working together like Lennon and McCartney, there is always one that is better with the hook. Always better with the hook. It's just that's the way it is. And if you're close enough where you can incorporate your songs into one another without there being a vast, like a suite, like on Abbey Road, it works. We can work it out. Try to see it my way. Then life is very short. Minor keys. Lennon, the pessimist. Life is very short. There's no time for fussing and fretting. Getting better. It can't get much worse. That's Lennon. It's getting better. That's McCartney. It can't get much worse. That's Lennon. The dichotomy, but it works. And then sometimes you're competing against yourself, where you're the guy writing, you're trying to put yourself into a different mood to write the middle. But generally speaking, if you're writing a song, you're not going to stop and pick it up 2 days later. You may. So how do you switch off to write the middle 8 and then switch back on to start writing verse again? Very hard. Very hard. Um, Very tough to do, but it can be done. Look at all the great artists in the world. So, why does a musical bridge or song stick with you? Generally, it's not the whole song that sticks with you. It's a part of the song that you resonate with and you adopt the whole child. You're adopting the whole family, which is the song. You're really adopting one kid, that's the middle eight, but you're adopting the song like you're adopting a family. That's pretty much the way it is. And does it work? Sure, it works. And the more you try to forget something, try forgetting your ex girlfriend on a Friday night thinking about it. You're not going to. You forget about her when the time is right to forget about her. The more you try to force it, it's not happening. Songs unfold for a reason in your mind. Like Chillin said, it could be his dad, it could be a job you had where you were hanging out with guys and you were 25 and you were having a ball. It could be anything. But that anything has a quantity and there's a quality that goes with it. You know how many songs are cheesy songs, but they're earworms. Built this city on rock and roll. That's one of the worst songs ever written. In my songwriting, when I put my songwriting hat on, it's cheesy, it's a sellout, it's a radio hit. Remember, they built this city, doom, doom. We built this city on rock and roll. That's the hook. It takes it up. Ira, thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much. That's so nice. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. I was joking with we built this city. So you're crescendoing up. Mark only plays the mambo. Let's do the ready. Let's remember we built this city. Doom, doom. You could have said, we built this city. Doom, 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 doom. We built instead they go doom, doom. He goes down because he's trying to show you the falling of a city. Think about it. We built this city, angelic. We built this city on rock and roll. Doom, 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 doom. Right? So, you remember. Doom, doom. Remember, meaning it doesn't exist anymore. She's singing in the past tense, Grace Slick. Don't you remember? Meaning, hence the city's not what it used to be. That's because we built it on rock and roll has gone downhill. That's what she's telling you. But she's not telling you that this is one of the songs that's making it go downhill, the one that you're listening to. Oh, thank you, Ira. You know what I mean? There's a lot of contradiction in songs. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'll give you a great song. Most of you probably haven't heard this song. This is a great song by Ray Davies. Excellent song. It's called You're Asking Me. Ray Davies, very good writer. This is an excellent song. He's asking himself questions. I'll throw it on for you. Excellent song. He's asking, telling, and a good hook. Now listen, he asks and answers himself. Listen.
You're asking me, what's it leading to? Will we live a long life? Will it treat us fair? No point asking me because I haven't got a clue. You're asking me, will it be alright? If you're asking me,
He has someone
don't
asking him
take
this,
my
and he has no clue,
advice,
and he's telling
and
him, I don't
don't
know.
make me responsible for you
So
living your
here's some of the hook.
life. I
Right away,
could
if it hurts
say
money.
there will be laughter, you will never
There'll be
cry.
laughter.
I could just as
I can tell you
easily
that.
go tell a lie
I
to
can lie to you,
laughter.
but it's not going to be like that.
What would come after? That would be unwise. If that's what you really want, then get a life, get a
That's really
life,
what you
get
want.
a
Get a life,
life.
because it's not happening.
You're asking me, will it be alright? Because I've been around,
I've been around. I have the insight. So you're asking me, will everything be okay? Do you really want my answer? Because it's going to be no. And if you're looking for a Pollyanna, not happening. So don't ask me unless you want me to tell you the truth, because I'm not going to lie to you. That's exactly what he's saying. Ray Davies, Lola. Ray Davies was in a bar, and they got there early, a dance club, or it happened to his friend. And by 5 a.m., 5 o'clock shadow on the guy who they thought was a girl. That's what Lola was about. Um, Great writer, Ray Davies. Ray Davies is a poor man's John Lennon. Satirical, uh, doesn't appear to be a very happy person, very ornery guy. Ray Davies used to live at the Mayflower in Manhattan, and my friend used to see him a lot and said he wasn't the friendliest guy in the world. That could be, if you're very famous, always just intense. If you're not famous, you're a prick, right? You get away with it if you're really famous. Well, he's just probably thinking about a line and he doesn't want to get bothered. See, if you're going to be bitchy, you better be really famous or they're going to write negatively about you. The San Remo, 74th and Central Park West, is where the Odd Couple, they used to take the shot of that. That's the San Remo building. Tony Randall actually lived in that building while they were filming The Odd Couple. And Steven Spielberg lives in there, Steve Martin, Bono, bunch of celebrities live in that building. My friend was a concierge there. He said that Bono was a horror because Bono, a little girl fell in front of the doors and the mother's trying to help. And the concierge comes over with a tissue. She cut herself, and Bono's like waiting for the guy to open the door. Prick. Says Steve Martin's not warm and fuzzy. He said Spielberg's very nice. He wasn't there when Tony Randall was there. But Randall during the 70s lived in the San Remo. It's 2 blocks from the Dakota. It's on Central Park West. But they're people. But it's, to me, it's kind of like signing that, going on the expert slope and signing a paper that you're not holding them responsible if you can't ski. When you're making millions of dollars and you're making it because I'm watching your TV show, is it right? I'm paying your salary. You kind of got to be a little nice to me. But people go overboard. People go overboard and ruin it for the nice people. The hounds that hound you and hound you. If these guys didn't get hounded, they'd probably be very nice if you said, "Hi, how you doing?" Hey. But I also think that songs that are put in movies and in soundtracks get a real boost. All the James Bond fans. Wow, what's that song? Live and Let Die? Hello? I'm on YouTube. Bye. You get a boost when you're in a big time movie because a lot of people are going to go watch a James Bond movie and some are going to like that chase scene song. Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey. Great song if it stood on its own. It's also attached to a great franchise. and one of the better James Bond movies. I remember it was very big in '64 because Bond was it was who was it? United Artists, and they were the same company that released A Hard Day's Night, and they did very well releasing A Hard Day's Night and Goldfinger within the same period. They did very well with that. United Artists was making a lot of money back in the '60s. Uh, America was latching on to the British before there was really a British invasion. You had Lulu. The fashion was 6 months ahead of us there. We were very open to Brit suggestion, and we did very well with it. We kind of originated it again, and the price to pay was we made the Beatles famous, and there was no stopping after that. But in the mid '60s, James Bond was big in America. The Beatles were big in America. The Brits came a running. They knocked down the door in America, but there's a price to pay for that. So I'm sure you have a song that sticks out to you, one that you just can't get out of your head. And it's usually a song that, see, I differ with psychologists who say it's a memory that is elicited from. No, there are songs that stick in my head that really have no big memory to them, just that it sticks in my head for whatever reason. A loopable hook, which you can't resolve in your mind. It'll drive you crazy. It's the same premise of when you're trying to remember someone's name or the name of a book. Same premise. Why do you think it bothers you so much if you can't remember the name of a book? It's the same as not being able to resolve the song. We are problem solvers. People are problem solvers. If I call Danae tonight and say, Danae, oh my God, I got to tell you something. So, you know what? The hell with it, I'll tell you tomorrow. She'd say, what? Don't do that to me. We want answers. And when we fill in the blanks, it's never as real, and it's usually catastrophic. When someone says that to you, you don't think the next word is, I hit the lotto. It's who died. So we always want to resolve, and we always think the worst. That's how we're programmed. So I think the same thing happened. Yeah, I believe she did. She did 2 songs for Bond. Nancy Sinatra did one. Sheena Easton, Carly Simon, McCartney, Duran Duran. Mitch did one. No, okay. Duran Duran's was good. Wasn't a great movie, View to a Kill, but the song was good. Yeah, Bond always had some interesting music. I heard when McCartney did the song, he brought it in to them, and they said, "Well, it's good for a beginning, like a draft." It was a completed song, so I think he changed a couple of things in it. Uh, Another memorable movie song is "Everybody's Talking at Me." Nilsson. Nilsson didn't write that song. He got a performance credit and he won the Grammy. Yes, Mitch. He won the Grammy, Nilsson, for Midnight Cowboy, but that wasn't the song. Nilsson wrote a song, something New York or whatever. And what happened was they did test audiences and they used that song for the test audiences and it went over so big. Originally, it was supposed to be Nilsson's song. So they let him sing this one. And he won the best vocal performance for the song, but that wasn't his song. Uh, Goldfinger is up there. That was a good one. Goldfinger. If I had to pick, um, I had a listing. Goldfinger's up there always. I don't know if it's because the movie was rated so well, and then you had some new artists. John Barry did most of the stuff, but yeah, Lulu did one, the John Barry Orchestra did one. Uh, Pretty much the going ranking, Live and Let Die, they felt was, first of all, it was his new band, Wings, and the theme tune was good. The middle breaks down, but it's timeless. It aged well. Um, Gladys Knight, License to Kill, that's a good one. It kind of brings you back to Shirley Bassey's, really, but put it in the late 80s. Shirley Bassey in the late 80s would have been Gladys Knight and License to Kill. Um, Goldfinger was brilliant. It made James Bond music relevant. Um, in the first two movies, no one gave a shit about it. Bassey comes in at 64, and wow. And it was co-written by Anthony Newley, and it was inspired by Mac the Knife, and it was produced by George Martin, who coincidentally produced the Hard Day's Night stuff that came out within a couple of months. Skyfall by Adele. It was pretty good. It was a good ballad. She was very hot at the time. And Skyfall was rated one of the best Bond theme songs ever, which was interesting. Tina Turner did GoldenEye for the first Brosnan movie. And a tried and tested formula, right? Hire a soul icon. And I don't know if you know this, but GoldenEye was written by Bono and The Edge from U2. Carly Simon, the great Carly Simon, nobody does it better. This is one of the few Bond songs that you could actually listen to without thinking about Bond. You could just listen to that song as one of her good songs. You listen to it, you're not even thinking about the Bond movie, right? Because she broke away from the George Martin, John Barry mold of how they wrote songs at that time. Good song. Louis Armstrong did a song for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I don't remember which one it was. Bassey did Diamonds Are Forever 7 years later after Goldfinger. The critics did not like George Lazenby's version of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one before Sean Connery came back for Diamonds Are Forever. So they went back to the drawing board, pretty much. Diamonds Are Forever. They went back with Sean Connery, and I don't think there's going back to the drawing board. I don't think there was any coincidence that they went back to Shirley Bassey, which was the first big Bond hit. I think they wanted to do that, and it was written by Don Black. But I think they wanted to go back to tried and true formula, Connery and Shirley Bassey, which was good. And some of these have earworms. You Only Live Twice was Nancy Sinatra. It went a little melancholy, but it worked. And the strings were sampled by Robbie Williams in 1998 with Millennium. So that was interesting. That's a pretty good song. She was very underrated, Nancy Sinatra. Tom Jones did Thunderball. So what do you do after Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger? You get another Welsh powerhouse, right? Tom Jones. Uh, his song isn't as well remembered as a lot of the songs, but I think it's pretty solid. And Tom Jones became, after 1965, a household name in Las Vegas. Um, A View to a Kill. I love Duran Duran. Now, the previous year, there was Rita Coolidge, and they stepped it up for Roger Moore's last Bond movie. And they were the biggest band on earth in 1985, Duran Duran. The band wrote it with John Barry, and it's the only Bond song ever to score a #1 hit, believe it or not. You Know My Name, Casino Royale, was Chris Cornell. Now, that was Daniel Craig's first Bond movie. And Dave Arnold worked with Soundgarden frontman Chris Cornell on the main theme. It was offbeat compared to what had come before, but it's underrated. It's decent. Soundgarden was good. Now, the James Bond theme is John Barry and the orchestra. Now, in the first one, Dr. No, there wasn't a particular theme in mind the way we think of them today, right? Who did the theme song, right? There was a main tune that was written by Monty Norman. But the theme became so iconic and an earworm, right? Because you just think of that with every Bond. It has its place in cinematic history, and it's still heard in every Bond film. So that's an earworm. You might not want to go buy it, but once you hear it, you're going to keep on singing it all day. The Living Daylights, another hot band at the time. Aha. Now, after the success of Duran Duran, they got another highly touted 80s band. Aha was a good band. Weren't as good as Duran Duran, but it ushered in a new mood of Bond movies, The Living Daylights. So you're stuck with the 80s power ballad bands. And that was probably because they wanted radio play. After Duran Duran, comes up with a hit that goes to #1, why not try it again? Now, Tomorrow Never Knows, Sheryl Crow. And K.D. Lang also recorded a song of the same name, written by David Arnold. But the Crow song was chosen for some reason. And K.D. Lang slipped into the ending credits. But Sheryl Crow also was hot at the time. Another Way to Die, Quantum of Solace. That was Jack White and Alicia Keys. Now, this movie was terrible. And I think it probably hurt the song as well. But the song was decent. Who would have thought of that pairing? Jack White and Alicia Keys. Pounding guitars and piano. It lifts the movie a bit. Billie Eilish, No Time to Die. 18-year-old, the youngest person ever to write a Bond song. Very moody and dark. And it kind of summed up Daniel Craig's last outing. Right? Very dark. Garbage, The World Is Not Enough. Now, Don Black teamed with David Arnold again for this Bronson title track. And it took Bond into the late 90s. They wanted Pierce Brosnan early on, but Remington Steele, they thought he was a little too young. And like Crow did before, it gets forgotten in comparison to a lot of the great songs. For Your Eyes Only, Sheena Easton, right? From Russia with Love, Matt Monroe. These are all writings on the wall. Sam Smith was pretty good. Madonna, Die Another Day, right? She always, every decade, she makes herself relevant. The Man with the Golden Gun, Lulu. Okay. English Moonraker, Shirley Bassey. Rita Coolidge, All Time High. I love Rita Coolidge. Don't like the song that much. So these are all earworms. That's why I'm bringing them up, even though we're doing the earworm thing here, because they are Duran Duran, Larry. Oh, take care. Duran Duran started the power ballads. Um, One of the best songs ever to come from an 80s band is Ordinary World. That was their comeback. Ordinary World is a brilliant song. Ordinary World would have been a great song for a Bond movie. Probably would have had to sped it up a bit. Yeah, Bassie's terrific. I don't know if she won the Academy Award, but Duran Duran, to me, I saw Duran Duran 2 Halloweens ago at Madison Square Garden, and they still sound great. Well, they're 67, 68. They're not that old. And they're just terrific. Simon still sounds great. And it was a great concert. But Duran Duran, to this day, they're still good. They're good. But now, so talking about this, can a movie seal in that earworm? Yeah, it can. If you're a James Bond movie fanatic, like I am, and if you're a Duran Duran fanatic, like I am, is the 85 movie, although it was not really strong, is it going to be much better? Because you love the band and you love Bond and you put them together and it's Lennon and McCartney. Maybe. I do think it was very good. Uh, I don't think the movie was very good. You know, you were stuck in the mid 80s. The mid 80s, everything was synthetic drums and drum machines, and everything was in your face, glossy and all that. And why not make Bond that way too? And what better way to usher out Roger Moore than with a band that was ushering in? I guess they felt if you're ushering out one Bond, might as well put him with the biggest band of the mid 80s that's ushering in a new British sound in the 80s. And I think that's what they tried to do. Duran Duran was very big. And you probably had some people go to the Bond movie because Duran Duran did the music, I'm sure. I wouldn't rate it as one of my best Bond movies, but I will tell you though, Chris Walken was very good in it. And I think Grace Jones was in that one. And Christopher Walken, you can't get better than him. Maybe Christopher Lloyd to play that role. A strong song, weak movie, probably elevated the movie a bit. But to me, the best Bond song is probably Goldfinger. Now, it might be because the first two movies didn't have any great songs, and this was the first movie that had a strong title song by a known artist. But I thought it was very strong. Also, the premise of gold paint and the girl, right? That was the Fontainebleau Hotel, an iconic hotel in the 60s. Frank Sinatra used to stay there. The Rat Pack used to stay there. So it was really 1964. You got the Beatles really taking over. It was a fun time to meld American audiences with Brits. You had the Beatles, you had Bond, Lulu. You had a real intersection of British culture and American culture. And a great American crooner, Shirley Bassey. What better way to meld them in? and it worked. It worked. Um, but a musician's take, and I'm a musician, an earworm is subjective. And now a song that would be an earworm 20 years ago, would it be today? No, because our emotional responses are different today. First of all, guys at my age, especially, you have less testosterone than you did 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. So you're not going to have that, the fight or flight. If you're fairly tough, you're not going to run if you were tough. But the fighting isn't as prevalent as it used to be. So what you'll do is you'll find another way. You'll find door three. I always thought, my personal opinion, every mob boss should have two great chess players, rated chess players, as consiglieres. Think about it. Who could see moves coming more than a chess champion? Who could see 4 or 5 moves what you're going to do after I make my move? So why wouldn't you find some guys that are great at chess and run things by them? Think about it. I think it would be brilliant. If I were doing something, I'd find 2 great chess players, and I'd say, "I wanna run something by you. Step 1 through 10. What do you think the possible responses are after doing something like this?" Then ask the other guy. One American, in fact, and maybe one Russian that thinks from a different hemisphere. Think about it. I come up with some good ideas once in a while. Yeah, again, Larry, yeah, they're a great band. Duran Duran, he's not the greatest singer. Not the greatest singer, but he knows how to sing. I'd rather have a guy that knows how to sing than a guy with a great voice. G, you can lay out. No, you find a chess player that's not just a bookworm, and you can lay out scenarios, and you could probably figure out intellectually what they feel would be the next coming moves. Think about it. I mean, not to go rob a bank. I mean, high level decisions. What would be the ramifications? Because these are players that think 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. So you can translate that, a board game, into real life. The captain is the knight. The soldier's the pawn. I take out 2 soldiers, and those are 2 of the knight's top soldiers. And this knight happens to be very close to this queen, which would be an underboss. What do you think the ramifications are? It can't hurt. I'm not saying they'd have the answers, but it can't hurt. You're getting a perspective from someone who's a genius in strategic warfare. Think about it, Jay. It's warfare on the chessboard. You have soldiers that get gobbled up and they're not big. Think about it. It's something to think about. This is what I do with my time. Isn't it sad, Gina? Wild Boys. Yeah, Wild Boys. Yeah. The Curly Shuffle reminds me of the 86 Mets. The Curly Shuffle. I remember Keith Hernandez used to be standing there watching it. They'd always put the camera on them. We have TV shows that are earworms. You just won't repeat it constantly. And why do you think you can remember words more than songs and songs of words? It's because there's an open loop. I'll tell you why. Whoever said, "What's that saying in The Godfather?" Oh, leave the gun, take the cannolis. No one ever forgot that. No one ever said for 20, oh, what is the, oh, what did he say? No, because it's not an open loop. An open loop with a song, your brain is trying to solve it and it's going around and around in a circle. Clemenza, when he said that, ended the loop. Yep. Now, bands that can really songs, certain songs, Christmas songs, earworm. You go into a mall, you hear this one Christmas song, and all day you're humming it. Why? The Cure, Danae? I'm not sure. A good band, The Cure. I don't know. They're good though. I did one of their songs a few weeks ago, didn't I? Yeah, 2026 concert seats. Yep. Post-punk rock, glam rock, right? Gloom rock, really. Yeah, they've had 300 members in that band. I think they've had 40 members in that band. Yeah, their last album was what? 20 years ago. I know they were formed in the mid 70s. I know that. Robert Smith, right? And Lal Tolhurst. Let me see if I could find if they're coming back. It says they're coming back. Well, they were nominated in 25. Songs of the Lost World. I think they're touring. They must be. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that up. I like them. I don't know if I go see them, but I like them though. Yeah, they were good, The Cure. They were very ghoulish. I remember that, right? I'm not sure, Danae. I think they're on tour though. So maybe. Let me see. In 24, Songs of the Lost World came out. In 25, they were working on a new album. Usually when you work on an album, you go on a tour. That's the reason you do the album. On Tuesday, announced a string of summer 2026 tour dates. And a new music will accompany those performances. So they have a new album coming out. In March 25, the band went back into the studio to record 13 more songs for a follow-up album to their 24 Songs of a Lost World. Okay, so it's going to be coming out. Interesting. Very interesting. I know Oasis went back, right? Really, did I? I'll do one of their songs tonight. How's that? Off that newer album. That'll be one of the songs tonight for you. I get a song up for my other member, Maria. So yeah, these songs become earworms. Let's see if I could put an earworm in your life tonight with one of the songs. So check out my songs in about an hour and we'll see if you like them. Thanks so much for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I love you guys. You made me feel a lot better. Now for antibiotic, a painkiller, and a sleeping pill. But until then, I'll see you soon.